We just bought the greatest Italian car of all time. No, it's not the Giulia. Brendan, get the Giulia out of here. It is the original Fiat 500. The Fiat 500, or Cinquecento as it's known in Italy, was introduced on July 2nd, 1957, and over the course of a number of years from 57 through 75, they sold nearly 3.9 million of these little cars. This became the Italian people's car. However, did you know when this car launched, it was not an immediate success? The designer, Mr. Giacosa, actually got so depressed by the original reception to this 500 that he had to take a 2-week vacation on the Italian Riviera. How Italian is that?
Now, when they originally launched this Fiat 500, they gave it its name because of the engine displacement, which at the time was actually only 479 cc's, even though they were calling it the Fiat 500. This one, which is a later model, actually has the full 500 cc's though.
And what was the horsepower on the first one?
The first one was a whopping 13 horsepower.
And what about this one?
Well, they really wanted to make it a hot rod, so they upped it all the way to 18.
Yeah, now this is a 2-cylinder engine, and it's actually a parallel twin, so it's not like a Volkswagen where the pistons go like this. The pistons go up and down like a normal vehicle, and it's air-cooled for simplicity. Now that engine is mated to a 4-speed manual, and you're probably thinking, just a 4-speed manual, except even in 1971, which is the year of this car, they didn't have synchros. Imagine buying a car in the 70s with no synchros. We had synchros like in the 30s and the 40s.
Right.
But Fiat was determined to keep the costs low, so no synchros in these cars. Oh yes!
Get my seatbelt on here.
2 Americans in an Italian car.
Jeez. Doesn't really hand it to you, huh?
Nah, not so much.
All right, Tommy. I think I'm about a foot short. I need one of those like airplane style seatbelt extenders to be able to properly buckle up in here.
Something tells me these seatbelts were not designed for Americans.
For Americans?
Oh, mine has disappeared under the seat. This has not gone well.
Oh my gosh. Here we go.
To be honest, Brendan, I'm not sure that this thing would have had seatbelts. Maybe someone added them, but regardless, they're Italian because they have funny letters on them, and they don't work for Americans.
It's a nice thought, but I guess if we get into an accident, I'm just gonna open the door and hop out.
Don't worry though, Brendan, we do have one piece of safety technology.
What's that? That is one sad sounding horn, Tommy.
Oh, that's exactly right. All right, let's see if the engine will start. Oh, yes.
Yeah, fired right up.
So 18 horsepower. There are some pieces of lawn equipment out there that have more than 18 horsepower.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking actually. This I used to mow lawns when I was a kid with my lawn boy, and it does remind me a little bit of the sound of my lawn boy.
I mean, the sound that this engine makes is almost identical to like a 0-turn mower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd say so.
Now this car was designed for super, super, super narrow Italian cities. It was designed for rural countryside. It was not so much designed for Denver, Colorado.
No.
And you definitely notice that when you get on American roads, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, yeah, because you could probably fit 2 of these in a lane. You could ride around like if you had a little Fiat 500 club, you could drive around like motorcycles and run staggered in the lanes if you wanted to.
We actually had this car in our offices for a while. Literally in our offices, right? Mm-hmm. Because it fit through the double doors.
Yeah, I remember walking in one morning and I just saw it parked in there. I'm like, how did they get that in here? And yeah, it's the first time I've seen a vehicle parked in the office, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Over the course of the 17 plus years that Fiat built the 500, there were actually a number of different variations and even a pretty major facelift that happened in 1965, but all the different variations were distinguished by a letter after the word Cinquecento. So there was like the 500, the 500D, and then there was the 500F, which was that big facelift, and then the 500L and the 500R, and they're all just a little bit different. Now this one is technically a 500L, which stands for Lusso. That's the luxury trim. It is missing some of the L bits, and it does have the front end off of an R, so it's a little bit of a hodgepodge, but it's pretty cool that over those years, they did change them and evolve them. There's even a sport model with like a steel roof if you wanted to get a little bit fancy. And then there was a station wagon called the 500.
Let me help you out there, Tommy. That's the 500 Giardiniera, which is actually an Italian word that means from the garden. And if people are familiar with like the Italian style beef from Chicago, you can get it with Giardiniera on it.
And that was the station wagon version.
Yeah.
The Fiat 500 actually launched after its big brother, the Fiat 600. And if you combine all of the 600 sales worldwide, including the ones made in Eastern Europe, they actually sold more of the 600s than the 500. It was kind of a fun fact. But the 500 is, well, it's the iconic model. And it's arguably the first purpose-built city car in existence. Now, it's hard to describe just how small this car is. It's not much longer than like a Smart 4.2, but it has 4 real seats and a real trunk, and it looks like a real car. This is an absolute beautiful piece of design and packaging, and this model has the rearward hinging doors, but the early 500s actually had a forward hinging door. Now you're probably wondering, a car this small, is it safe? No, not at all. It weighs just 1,000 pounds, and this door is maybe 3 inches wide, and you know there is no crash safety in that door whatsoever.
Now on this little Fiat 500, you got 12-inch wheels, and around that were radial tires, which were an upgrade from the basic ones. But I mean, there's really not much to them. I can fit my hand entirely around those tires, and I guess if you needed to replace them, which, I mean, they're about the size of a medium deep dish Chicago pizza, I would say you probably want to go to your local bicycle store to find replacement tires.
Now, from a driving experience standpoint, the first thing you notice is that even though this car is absolutely minuscule, this car was designed to, you know, be a 4-wheeled Vespa, essentially. The room is surprising. I had to scoop my seat forward to be able to comfortably reach the pedals, and I am over 6 feet tall.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And yeah, I will say, I've sat in some small cars with you, Tommy, and this is not the smallest as far as interior cargo volume goes.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. I mean, look, shoulder room, right? Like, good thing I don't work out that much because we're gonna be in trouble. But yeah, the height is actually pretty good too, right? Like, we got headroom.
Yeah, I got a little bit of headroom. I can spike my hair up a little further if I wanted to. It's pretty nice. And if you need even more headroom, you can just open up that top.
Darn straight. Now, we are approaching the enemy of the Fiat 500, a hill. So I'm gonna have to go for a downshift, and this car has no synchros. So this might get kind of double clutch it, rev it up the engine a little bit. Oh. So yeah, it is very easy to crunch gears. And then once you do hit the hill, it does take some time to get up. But top speed on this car quoted to be 95 kilometers an hour, which is like 59 miles an hour. I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to take this on any American highways, but if you're just taking it around the city or on some country roads, you'd probably be just fine in something like this.
One of the reasons that Fiat introduced the 500L or Lusso in 1969 is that there were so many of these crowding Italian cities, people wanted to look a little bit different, a little bit more special, and the Lusso gave you not only changes on the outside, but changes on the inside as well. Let's talk about some of the luxury features. So the seats are finished in this striped material. The door panels are finished in this striped material. You get not just one cubby here on the dash, but a second luxury cubby down here on the floor. You also get this 2-spoke steering wheel and this speedometer with not only a fuel gauge, but readings up to 130 kilometers an hour. But no actual changes to performance. So, Brendan, what would you call this speedometer?
I would say it's an aspirational speedometer. Now, as far as fuel goes in the Fiat 500, you got this little 5.8 gallon fuel tank that literally just kind of looks like a little fuel cell sitting up here, and this is exactly where you fill it from. So about as basic as it gets. And believe it or not, these little guys got 42 miles per gallon, meaning you could go 243 miles between fill-ups. And no old Italian car would be complete without a quart of oil, just in case, because you never know.
All right, I'm gonna roll up the windows just a little bit because we're about to attempt our first ever top speed test in the Fiat 500. Now the speed limit on this road is like 50, something tells me by the end of the road we're not going to be doing 50.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. All right, well, we do have the official GPS-based speedometer app. Do you see the needle there?
I do.
We're doing about, what, 25?
Yep.
All right, let's hit the main road, and we'll see what you'll do.
I'm curious to see what your kilometers an hour, because for a second there, when I first saw it, I saw we were doing like 50. I'm like, there's no way we're doing 50, but that's in kilometers an hour.
All right, first gear in a second. What are we doing?
We just hit 20.
Okay, in the third.
25.
Nice. Full throttle.
Oh, there's 30.
Can we do 35? It's still pulling.
There's 35. Can we hit 40?
Okay, top of third. In the fourth.
Oh, you're so close. Come on, a little bit more. There's 40.
We got a hill, Brendan.
Oh no.
We got a hill, dude. 42?
Yeah, you're at about there. 42. Yeah, you're still at 42. That hill's killing us.
The hill's coming up.
You're not losing speed.
Holy moly.
I think you hit 43.
Come on, Fiat. Oh, dude, the hill's the killer.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, we're going back down. There's 42.
I'm giving her all she has, Captain.
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
Back down to 40.
Top of the hill. I'm planted in fourth. Can't downshift. All right, here we go.
Okay. Oh, I think 41. We're going back up. 42. Oh, no, Tommy. 42, 43. Seems like that's all she's got.
And we're about to hit a turn here. Don't want to go careening off the side of the road.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I think it's time we do the unthinkable.
What's that?
Should we take it on an American highway?
Oh my gosh.
I want to talk you through the switches and the functions on the inside of the Fiat 500. This should take me exactly like 9 seconds. Across the center of the dash, you have a number of little switches here, naturally completely unlabeled and naturally installed backwards because it's Italian. So up is off and down is on. Now this switch turns on the lights for the instrument cluster, and this switch turns on the headlights. So you have two separate switches for the instrument cluster lights and the headlights. This is your ignition, and this right here to the right, well, that's going to be your wipers. What about the climate control in the 500? Well, you turn the heat on by spinning this knob, which opens this little tiny flap, and you turn the heat off by spinning the knob, and it closes that flap. Spoiler alert, this does nothing because it draws heat from the air-cooled engine, which it doesn't work. And now for the air conditioning, you got this window, which folds out. You like those, buddy?
Yeah, it's like having air conditioning blowing right onto your crotch, the original crotch vent.
Now, the Fiat 500 is going to be virtually impossible to steal because nobody will figure out how to start it. So when you go to turn the key, it doesn't actually crank the engine over. To do that, naturally, there's a separate lever down here by the shifter. This left lever, that's the choke, and the right lever, this engages the starter. So pull up on this lever. And it wheezes into life, and when it idles, it genuinely, I mean, it sounds like an actual lawnmower, which is just the funniest thing. But the craziest part about this whole setup is if I take the key out, you know, it's not in the ignition anymore, I can still crank the engine over using this lever. Now, of course, it won't start because there's no ignition on, but all this lever does is turn the starter motor on and off.
Now, what made this a people's car is the fact that you do have a fully functioning back seat. And getting it is pretty simple. You just kind of push forward on this front seat here. I know, big guy in a back seat, right? In a small back seat. Let's see how I can do it. With the seat up, it's not too bad. With the seat down, my knees are definitely in there, but oh my gosh, Tommy, are you going to get in too?
Oh, it's a proper four-seater, Brendan. Here we go. Oh, yes.
So you could, in theory, fit two full-size adults in the back seat of this thing. You just be a little cozy with your front seat occupants.
Half-sized adults. This is not a full-size adult back seat.
Maybe for short trips, but
yeah.
We actually do fit.
All right, come on, little Fiat. You got this, buddy. Merging onto the highway. We got our own merge lane, that's good. There's no one coming except a huge truck.
Oh, Jesus.
All right.
Can you outrun truck.
Full throttle.
There's 25.
In the third.
Yeah, you're not at 30 yet. There's 30. There we go.
Here comes a Ram 2500 Cummins.
35. Everybody's laughing at us. 40.
They're laughing with us, Brendan.
Okay, yeah, sure. They're laughing with us.
Are we at 45 yet?
No, you're still at 40, Tommy.
All right, up to the floor. I'm gonna roll up the
40,
window.
41. We need all the aerodynamics we can get.
Come on, buddy. That's
42.
75 kilometers.
43.
75 kilometers an hour indicated.
44. Oh, come on, you can do it. Come on, little Fiat.
50?
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, sorry, I was reading it wrong. This is 50.
You're shortchanging us,
I'm sure.
Brendan.
Yeah, oh, yeah, just hitting 50. We're just hovering right at 50.
Oh, dude, this is a performance machine.
Well, this thing sounds kind of wrung out. It sounds like we're kind of maxed on this thing. I don't know.
Almost.
And we're about to hit a hill.
Almost 90 kilometers an hour.
Oh, wait, 51. 51. And we're going back down to 50.
Up a hill. Oh, we got some bumps coming, dude. You better hold on. Are you ready?
Oh, jeez.
This is about to get real uncomfortable. Slowing down for the bumps. Don't want the suspension to go shooting through the hood. Oh, jeez, dude.
We're gonna hold
This
on.
is a big bump. Oh. So we hit about 52 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's about the max that we could get out of this thing with two of us in here. I mean, if you think about it, 59 and what is this, 50 years later, down to 52 with two big Americans in it? Not too bad.
Check this out. Look at this. A fellow enthusiast of the Fiat 500.
Should we wave at them?
Want to give him a little wave? He doesn't even
Cool
see us.
car! Hi! Nice ride!
That was nice.
A little faster though.
Take care.
You see, the Fiat community,
They love it.
they love it. They appreciate.
All I was doing was complimenting his car, and he said, "Oh, it's not as nice as yours. You gotta get the original."
Gotta get the original. So Brendan, what do you think of the little 500?
You know, I've never actually gotten to interact with one of these in person, but this thing is pretty darn cool, I have to say.
It's just such a magnificent piece of design that you can have a car this small that actually fits two Americans relatively comfortably. Yes, it's very slow. Yes, it's probably less safe than walking. However, I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, people were cross-shopping this with a motorcycle, right?
Yeah, Vespa.
This is way more practical. You can fit a lot more, and you can go further on a tank of gas. What more can you ask?
It was dirt cheap back in the day too. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, it's been Tommy.
And Brendan.
We'll see you in the next episode.